dad was a professor, happened to be a professor of computer science. And, we had computers sort of lying around the house from a really early age. Like, I think I was the first kid in my elementary school to turn in a word processed document. So, and I just enjoyed using this stuff, so it was sort of lying around and got to play with it. And I had an older brother who was interested in it as well. So I think I had kind of a unique environment that most people didn't have because, my dad was willing to spend, all his available income on buying a computer or whatever. Really, it was like 1978 when I was 6. And so I don't think there's many people my age who've had that experience, or anyone in general. And from very early age also I realized I wanted to invent things. And so I became really interested in technology, and also then soon after in business, because I figured that inventing things wasn't any good. You really had to get them out into the world and have people use them, right, to have any effect. So probably from when I was 12, I knew I was going to start a company eventually. I just sort of kept having ideas. I mean, we had a lot of magazines lying around our house. It was kind of messy. So you kind of read stuff all the time, and, I'd read like Popular Science or, I don't know, things like that. And I just got interested in stuff, I guess, and technology and how devices work. And my brother taught me how to take things apart, and I took apart everything in the house. And so I just became interested in it for whatever reason. And so I had lots of ideas about, what um, what things could be built, and, how to build them and all these kinds of things. I built like an electric go-kart at a pretty early age. I read all the computer magazines and things like that, and I was sort of interested in, how these things really work, and anything having to do with, the mechanics behind things, either the mechanics or the electronics, or, I wanted to be able to build things. Actually, in college, I built an inkjet printer out of Legos because I wanted to be able to print really big images. I figured, you could print really big posters really cheaply using inkjet cartridges. So I reverse engineered the cartridge, and I built all the electronics and mechanics to drive it. And just sort of, just sort of fun projects. So I like to be able to do those kinds of things. We didn't start out to do a search engine at all. In late 1995, I started collecting the links on the web because my advisor and I decided that would be a good thing to do. And we didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it. Um, but it seemed like no one was really looking at the links on the web, which pages link to which pages. And computer scientists love big graphs, and this is like, right now it has like 5 billion edges and, 2 billion nodes, so it's a huge graph. And I figured I could get a dissertation and do something fun and perhaps practical at the same time, which is really what motivates me. Well, I think the age is a real issue. I mean, it's certainly a handicap in the sense of being able to manage people and to hire people and all these kinds of things. Maybe, more so than it should be. Uh, and certainly, I think, the things that, I'm missing are, more things that you acquire with time. Like, if you manage people for 20 years or something like that, you pick up things. So certainly lack experience there. And that's an issue. But I sort of make up for that, I think, in terms of understanding where things are going to go, having vision about the future, and really understanding, the industry I'm in and what the company does, and also sort of a unique position of starting a company and working on it for 3 years before starting the company, and working on it pretty hard. So, the whatever 24 hours a day, and so I understand a lot of the aspects pretty well. So it's kind of I don't know, I guess that compensates a little bit for lack of skills in other areas. Well, I think Google is great because it's basically artificial intelligence would be the ultimate version of Google. So if we had the ultimate search engine, it would understand everything on the web. It would understand, exactly what you wanted, and it would give you the right thing. And that's obviously artificial intelligence. It would be able to answer any question basically, because almost everything is on the web, right? And so we're nowhere near doing that now. However, we can get incrementally closer to that, and that's basically what we work on. And that's tremendously interesting from an intellectual standpoint.
I was really interested in computers ever since I got one when I was in elementary school. And eventually I went on to join the PhD program in computer science at Stanford. And it was purely, the interest of what can you do with all of the world's information now that it's online. That interest spawned Google, and that was together with Larry Page, who's my co-founder and partner. I think as a kid, I always had a kind of scientific curiosity. I was always interested in mathematics, and I always enjoyed doing math problems. And in fact, my undergrad, I had a degree in both math and computer science. And I think eventually I was really inspired by computers because of the amazing power that they give you. I mean, today's PCs do 1 billion operations per second. I mean, it's almost inconceivable. And I think that was the most inspiring thing to me, how you could leverage that to actually produce something that was, that was useful beyond video games and things like that. At Google, our mission is to make the world's information accessible and useful, and that means all of the world's information, which now in our index numbers over 1 billion documents. And it's an incredible resource. I mean, in history, you have never had access to just, pretty much all the world's information in seconds. And we have that now, and to make it really useful, you have to have a good way of finding whatever it is that you want. And that's precisely what we work on at Google. And my hope is to provide instant access to any information anybody ever wants in the future. I was fortunate to be at Stanford, and I was really interested in data mining, which means analyzing large amounts of data, discovering patterns and trends. And at the same time, Larry joined Stanford in '95, and he started downloading the web, which is, turns out to be the most interesting data you can possibly mine. And our joint effort, just looking at the data out of curiosity, we found that we had technology to do a better job of search. And from that initial technology, we got really interested in the problem, and we realized how impactful having great search can be. And so we built technology upon technology after that to bring Google to where it is today, and we continue to develop lots of technology for tomorrow.